I have to eat my words and say I was wrong at the end of the year, I absolutely will. I've said that a few times this year. I was wrong about the Brewers. I was wrong about the Guardians. So far, I'm not ready to say that the Astros are done. They'll be there at the end of the year. I'll keep sticking with that. Worry meter's a 4.
Fly ball onto the track, at the wall, it's gone! Home run!
Turns on a ball, deep right field, and gone!
What a game, what a moment. What is up, my friends? Happy Friday, everybody. We got a great episode for you today. We got Making a Statement today. We have the London series coming up this weekend.
Oh, so yeah, starting tomorrow.
On Fox, yeah, Saturday and Sunday. We'll talk all about that. But Making a Statement, we're going to talk about the Astros and where my worry meter is at, how worried I am. We're going to talk about Yoshinobu Yamamoto and his contract as well. The Guardians and how good they have been, which continues to just be really, really good. Also have This Week in Shohei Ohtani news and a couple FlippinBats updates for you at the end of the show. But Alex, how are we doing? You asked me about your outfit before we started. And said, does this outfit remind you of anything?
This outfit actually has a really funny story. Do you remember the last time that I wore this?
I do not.
Okay, so we were
I remember you wore it. I remember seeing it.
Oh.
But I don't remember where.
I laughed so hard putting it on. Okay, we were in Miami for the World Baseball Classic. We had just finished a show, and Ben suggested we go to a club. I'm like, oh, where are we going?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go to this place called 11. I'm like, what's 11? He's like, I'm not going to tell you. You're just going to have to find out when we show up. I'm like, well, I don't really feel like I'm in club attire. Maybe I should change. He's like, nah, you're going to be fine. It's Miami. It's going to be cool. Well, if you've been to 11... It's an experience. I'll just put it that way. I was definitely not in the right attire. Halfway through the night, I have this entire group of young girls who end up at our table who look at me and go, man, I want to be like you when I grow up and wear pajamas to the club and just not give an F about anything.
Yeah.
Until this day, like since that moment, I was like, my style's kind of pajama chic and this is just it. And it was just in that, we laughed so hard.
You
so
also,
hard about
that night, in the middle of, by the way, I like it. This wasn't my idea.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. The entire group idea.
Okay.
You come up to me in the middle of this place. It is so loud. It is a legit, like, it's club. It is loud. And you come up and you like whisper, is there a quiet place that I could sneak away to? I'm like, Alex, I don't think so. I think you're out of luck.
To go home. You're already in your pajamas.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that was a hilarious. So I laughed. That made me laugh really hard.
Good memes. Good outfit. World
Great
Baseball
memes.
Classic was fun. That was great.
And you know what we got coming up this weekend?
I do.
The London series, you guys, kicks off Super Saturday on Fox. Mets and Phillies. I don't know if you saw like the slow-mo video, but they turned a soccer stadium into a baseball stadium with the whole time lapse. We have I think the video behind us if you're watching, but so cool. I actually did a shoot with Chase Utley at the start of the season, and he's been out in London kind of as the ambassador for this whole series and obviously Phillies and everything going on out there. And he just said the excitement just over the last couple of months has been incredible over there in London.
Yeah, I think these are the things. This time lapse is really cool. If you're watching, you can see it. I think these are the things that grow the sport. Going to all these different places. They do it in Mexico. They've done it in Japan and Seoul.
Yeah.
And I think going to London now for a few years is really cool. I saw a video the other day of somebody, it was like man on the street type of interview of a guy asking people from London baseball questions. And they just have no idea, but they're excited.
No idea.
They're excited to go. And yeah, that's how you grow the sport. And you get a good interdivision rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, the Mets aren't exactly great. Phillies are great.
Phillies are doing awesome.
Here's what's going to happen. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of offense. Whenever Major League Baseball goes over to London, there is always a lot of offense. So it'll be a fun series. Yeah, I'm excited to watch.
Yeah. Did you see the Phillies? It might not have actually been them. And like, as I'm thinking about it, it was probably like a graphic design.
Tell me you're asking about this.
Yes!
This is my first time seeing it. If you thought this was real.
You guys, I'm gullible. And I was like, I've done that exact same photo. I stopped traffic when I was in London right before the Women's World Cup. And it's such a crazy, fun little photo op experience. My crew was like, Alex, really? I was like, we got to get the shot. How often are you going to be right out in front of, like, right on Abbey Road? It was so sick. I thought it was real when I first saw it. Okay, there you go. Now you know I'm an extremely gullible person.
Oh, yeah, now I know that.
Yeah, everybody knows that. But that's going to be, like, Saturday's going to be epic. You got this series, and then you got Dodgers at Yankees on Fox. So it's it's going to be a fun one.
Yep.
But let's get to making a statement, you guys. This first one, Ben.
Here she goes. You know what this is about. She's laughing up to her old antics.
Well, it is officially time to worry about the Astros.
I feel like since the first time we had this question asked, when the Astros were playing really poorly, and I was asked, I continued to say, no, I'm not worried about the Astros. I'm not worrying about them. I'm not worrying. And then it got to a certain point when you're like, when are you going to worry? And I said, I will worry if it gets to the All-Star break and they're 10 games out of a playoff spot. So here we are about a month away from the All-Star game. They're 6 games back of a wild card spot and about 7 games back from a division spot. And I'm still not gonna tell you I'm worried. Here's what I will do. I'll bump the worry meter back up from a 3 to a 4.
What?
It'll nestle in right there at a 4. They're 4-6 in their last 10. They're 28-35. Yeah. What do you mean? What? Here's why I bump it up. Because Urquidy and Christian Javier are gonna have to get Tommy John.
Yeah.
And miss the rest of the season. So obviously, a big part of me not worrying was pitching coming back.
Yeah.
And that pitching.
You're contradicting yourself right now. You are delusional and you are blinded by love.
Alex,
the Astros.
They were 3.5 games out of first place.
And they just lost 2 of their top arms out for the season.
I would argue that Justin and Framber are 2 of their top arms.
They're also 2 of their top arms.
Okay, and then you have Hunter Brown, who's pitching better. You have Lance McCullers, who's now like ramping back up and going to come back into the rotation at some point. Their rotation, look, here's the interesting part. Are they going to be buyers or sellers is what I think we're going to need to start having the conversation here soon, because you're sitting 28-35.
6 games out of a wild card spot.
Pitching and 6 games out of a wild card spot.
They're under 500.
It's time to go. Yes, they are under 500. That's 28-35.
Yeah. I'm just rubbing it in a little more.
No, we get it.
Yeah.
We get it. Look, they're a week removed from being 3.5 games out of first place. That means they could be a week away from being 3.5 games again out of first place. You're going to play the Mariners a bunch more times. The Rangers aren't playing good baseball. So look, I feel like I'm put in a position like once a week or once every other week to defend the Astros. And every time I do it, I get people coming after me saying, you're only doing that because your brother's on the team. Well, no, I just believe in a team that's been good for almost a decade. And until they are, I'm not going to say mathematically out of it, but until it gets to the point where, and the point for me is 10 games out of it at the All-Star break, then I'll tell you I'm worrying. But right now, I'll bump the worry meter back up to a 4 just because of the pitching injuries. The offense is still really good. They won 2 of 3 from the Cardinals over the weekend, a team that was playing better. So, look, they're a good month away from literally being like a first-place team. So, it's not pretty. You got to figure things out by the trade deadline.
Yeah, so are they going to be buyers or sellers? What's your gut?
I told you I'd be ready to have that conversation soon.
Well, okay,
Not yet. That decision isn't made on June 7th. It's not. It's made on July 25th when you got to start figuring out what to do. And we're still a long ways away from that. And we have a lot of games left until they need to decide what to do. But until then, I have said it all year long, every time you've asked, and the more I have to say it, the better I'll look or the worse I will look at the end of the year. But the Astros are inevitable, and they will be there when all is said and done. And if I have to eat my words and say I was wrong at the end of the year, I absolutely will. I've said that a few times this year. I was wrong about the Brewers. I was wrong about the Guardians. So far, I'm not ready to say that the Astros are done. They'll be there at the end of the year. I'll keep sticking with that. Worry meter's a 4.
Blinded by love of the Astros. But let's move on to our next statement, you guys. Yamamoto has not been worth his contract. This is tough.
This one's tough for me because he signed a contract that is the biggest ever, surpassing Garrett Cole, who is the best pitcher in baseball. He signed a deal for 12 years, $325 million. We are, what, two months into this? 3 months into this? 3 months into a 12-year deal? And we're not looking up at a 5 ERA. The guy's got a 3.32 ERA. He's 6-2. He's got 76 punch-outs in 65 innings and a whip just over 1. Is that dominant like Cy Young numbers? No, but we're talking his first few months in the league. He's been good. I will say he's been a good pitcher, and he's going to continue to be good, if not better, for a long, long time to come. And this is a rotation that needs him. It's a rotation that is either full of old guys or full of guys that are injury prone. And to have Yamamoto there as a centerpiece and a staple of your rotation for years to come, when he's going to put up these numbers or only continue to improve in Major League Baseball, I can't say that his contract hasn't been worth it. It's too soon to tell if it has or hasn't. We can talk in 10 years when I'm old, but
I think the reason this has become a topic is because you have a guy like Shota Imanaga, who also is his first year in Major League Baseball. I mean, he came right out of the gates and he has been having an incredible start to the season. And our argument for Yamamoto has been it takes Japanese pitchers some time to adjust. We saw it with Shohei Ohtani when he came over to Major League Baseball, right? There's a different feel of the ball. There's a different feel on the mound. There's the culture, the language barrier, being in a new place. There's so many things that happen. And we saw kind of a slow build with Ohtani till he got comfortable. So we're like, oh, same thing can happen to Yamamoto. Just give him some time. But when you have Imanaga come out and just absolutely crush it right out of the gates, I think that's where the question starts to arise.
But now he's taking his bumps and bruises. Like that's the whole, like that's the roller coaster of pitching in Major League Baseball. And especially if you're going to come over in a first year. Yeah, Imanaga came out of the gates and was one of the best pitchers in baseball, if not the best pitcher. His last 2 starts, he's been really bad. So like that's going to happen. Yamamoto and his first start, really bad. Ever since then, pretty good numbers. Not elite, not great, not Cy Young numbers, but he's on pace to go 15-6 this year with 207 strikeouts. That's a good year. So yeah, I'm excited. The fact that we have seen what we have from Yamamoto excites me. I think he's going to be very, very good for a long time to come. And yeah, I think we're ultimately going to look up at the end of his contract. And what year is that going to be? 2036?
Long time.
And say, yeah, I think it was worth it. But as of right now, I'm absolutely not going to say it hasn't been worth it. He's been good, not elite, and I expect him to get better and better and better with time and age and experience.
So then let's stay on this Japanese pitcher talk because there's another big name looking to get posted, and he's made it clear that he wants to come over and play in the major leagues, Roki Sasaki. So if he gets posted and is able to come over and his team allows him to come to Major League Baseball, what is his contract going to look like now that you have kind of the standard of what Yamamoto got and what we're seeing and what Imanaga got and what we're seeing?
I am excited for Roki Sasaki to come to the big leagues, and the posting system in NPB with players coming from Japan to Major League Baseball is a bit tricky, especially with certain teams, which include the team that Roki Sasaki is on. You have to get posted. They have to post you. And if you want to get posted early, that is entirely up to the team and the organization. So that whole situation is tricky, but he is young. He is right now. I remember after the World Baseball Classic talking to a couple different guys that played in the tournament. Sasaki's 22 years old, and Yamamoto's 25 right now. Sasaki's 22. There were a lot of guys that faced Roki Sasaki and said he is the ace of a staff for the majority of teams in Major League Baseball right now. And he was 21 years old at the time. So he's 22 now. He's going to come over soon. You know, who knows when it'll officially happen. Hopefully they let it happen next year. But I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. But I'm going to say, because of past experience, because of arms that have come over and had success, Shohei Ohtani, Kodai Senga, Yamamoto, Imanaga, I think Roki Sasaki has the potential to be the best of all of them.
Whoa.
I think, I don't know if it's going to be of the 12-year variety because of what the Dodgers were doing with their contracts and deferring a lot of money and all of that. But I think the AAV, the average salary, the average yearly salary on Roki Sasaki's contract will be higher than Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And I think he will ultimately be a better pitcher.
I mean, and then you got to think, who's going to pay him that kind of money? Because we've also heard rumors, I maybe because I'm a Dodgers fan, but I heard he also wants to go to LA, and maybe it is because Yamamoto and an Ohtani is there. Like, who's going to be able to have the money to give him the kind of contract that he's going to want to get when he comes?
You're a Dodgers fan?
You know?
I didn't know that.
Welcome to the club.
The Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets.
Yep. LA and New York. That's what I thought. So there's not going to be a ton of options.
I mean, it all like there are teams that can spend that just don't. I mean, that just aren't right now. Like the Red Sox are a profitable organization and need to turn things around and need to do it in the next couple of years. So I could see that perhaps being a fit. I could see the Cubs being a fit. The Cubs have tried to be. The Cubs were in on Shohei. Apparently, the Jays, the Blue Jays have all this money. Remember, he was on that private plane that he actually wasn't on, but he was going to sign his deal there. Like, there are teams that have the money to spend that are just seemingly waiting for the right thing. The Giants, by the way, have been waiting to sign somebody for years. First, it was Arson Judge. Then it was Carlos Correa.
Arson Judge.
They have the money.
I forgot about
then
that.
Then it was Shohei's in the running. Then they're missing out on all these guys. Yeah. So they have the money to do it. So it's not just LA and New York.
Okay.
All the teams that play, not all the teams if we're classifying the Angels in that, but they're not in LA technically. Yeah. The Dodgers, Yankees, Mets are all at play, but I do believe there are a handful of others that have an opportunity to sign him, and I think will, and I think he'll make a lot of money and make somebody really happy. If you don't know a lot about Roki Sasaki, throws 100, throws 102, has a nasty splitter. He is one of the best pitchers in the world right now at 22 years old.
All right. Well, speaking of young players, this leads us to our final statement. The Guardians need to target a pitcher over a hitter before the trade deadline.
Well, if you were to tell me before the year that the Cleveland Guardians would get to a point where they're 40-20 on the season, they just lost on Thursday, so they're not 40-20 right now, but they got to 40-20. I would have said, one, what? They're that good? And two, have said, well, clearly they're pitching really well, because that's kind of what the Guardians have been doing over the last few years when they're good. But that hasn't been how they're doing it. They're doing it offensively. Steven Kwan is the American League version of Luis Arraez. Jose Ramirez is an MVP caliber player that is the most underrated superstar in baseball. They have Fry that hits towards the bottom of the lineup that's, should be getting all-star consideration. He's been great. Josh Naylor is one of the most clutch players in baseball, has tons of pop, hits huge late-game homers. They have everything. They have guys that can hit for a really high average in Steven Kwan. Jose Ramirez, who can do literally everything on a baseball field. Josh Naylor, ton of pop, really clutch. David Fry at the back of the lineup can, hitting for a high average. So these statistics right here tell you everything about this Guardians team this year. I mean, since RBIs became official, 3 MLB players have put the above stats over a 14-game span. Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, and David Fry, who I've mentioned, who they have a lot of times batting at the bottom of the lineup. 5+ homers. This is in a 14-game span. 5+ homers, 15+ RBIs, 10+ walks, 3 or more stolen bases, and a 1,400 OPS. So, and more home runs than Ks, and 12 or more team wins. So they just kind of do it all offensively. They have guys that do everything. They do it all differently, and you put that lineup together, and they just have a lot of success. And it really hasn't been on the pitching side. Shane Bieber goes down early. Tommy John out for the year. Tristan McKenzie, not the same guy. He's not the velo's not there this year. It's just, it hasn't been a dominant rotation. It's a dominant back end of the bullpen, but Yeah. So I will say, what was the question again? They need to target a pitcher over a hitter.
Let me bring you back here.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's start the question. Now, I'm ready to answer your question.
Yeah,
I think.
I could tell. You
You
needed to talk yourself through it. I mean, they've proven that they are the real deal, right? So do the Guardians need to target a pitcher over a hitter before the trade deadline? And if they do that, can they be a playoff team?
Good question, Alex.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for following up.
Thanks.
I'm going to say they need to acquire a pitcher. I think the offense. Look, in a perfect world, the answer is both, right? Like offensive depth and pitching. But if you're going to ask me one or the other, one over the other, I'd probably say an arm. I don't feel like if they get into the playoffs right now, well, if they get into the playoffs at the end of the year with this roster as is, they don't have the pitching that wins in the playoffs. They don't have those like ace type guys at the top, guys with stuff that gets outs in the playoffs. In my opinion, Tristan McKenzie can be that guy. They have arms that have been good during the regular season, but you need to add another one. I look for a guy like Jesus Luzardo, which historically isn't the type of move that the Guardians are going to make. Like the top arm available at the trade deadline. That hasn't typically been the Guardians, but he's got nasty stuff. Can be great in the playoffs. I have no doubt about that. Just a lefty with throws hard, nasty stuff. He would be huge for that rotation. I also I'm gonna throw out a name that's gonna surprise some people. Tyler Anderson.
Okay.
The Angels. He was really good that final year with the Dodgers. Really good. And then goes to the Angels and is the opposite of that. Really bad. Until this year. Now he's in the next year of that contract. He's got a 2.5 ERA here at the beginning of June. He's not that expensive. You have him under control for the rest of this year and next year if you sign him. $13 million for each year. I think that could be a great addition. But again, that begs the question of like, is that the playoff arm that you're really talking about? And that answer for me is no, but I would also acknowledge there's not a ton of them out there. And then you start like, are the Diamondbacks going to continue to be that bad? If so, maybe Jordan Montgomery, who just signed there, who's been bad, who didn't have a spring training, who clearly showed he can pitch in the playoffs, is on the move. But you start looking at what's out there, and the answer on the pitching side of things isn't a ton right now. But that will show itself more and more as we get closer and closer to the deadline and teams decide whether they're going to be buyers or sellers.
And I think this is why we don't see as many of these trades before the trade deadline, because it's a lot of these teams going, well, maybe there's a chance. We still have 2, 3, 4 weeks to see if we're in the race. Because I think that was a conversation that we had earlier this week is why aren't teams going out and getting what they need now? It's like, well, there are some teams that don't want to give it up yet because you got to give hope, right? Even if you're not great and you don't think like you're going to win the division, there's still hope that you can sneak in in the wild card.
If you're playing in the National League, everyone has hope.
Everyone has hope.
There's only 4 teams over 500 in the National League. There are just as many teams in the American League Central that everyone thought was going to be poo-poo. There are just as many teams in that division over 500 as the entire National League. 4 teams in that division. The Guardians, Twins, the Royals, and the Tigers. Just as many as the entire National League over 500. That's
crazy.
Remarkable. So you look around the league, and there's really only a handful of teams, maybe less than a handful, that are saying, yeah, we're not going to have a chance this year. And that's probably the Rockies, the A's, the Marlins. The Marlins have their assistant GM posting thirst traps on TikTok. I mean, what are we doing? I digress.
I can't. I can't. That whole franchise right now is a
Angels, probably White Sox. So yeah, I'll say a handful.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, one of those teams that you mentioned in the National League that is over 500 and a little bit of a slump the last couple of weeks, but it's time to talk about their superstar.
Yeah, it is. And my favorite segment of all time, my friends, this week in Shohei Ohtani news, we're going to talk about his week at the plate, his homer against one of the most exciting young pitchers in the game of baseball, throwing 100 million miles an hour on the mound. We're going to talk about the Dodgers team as a whole and what they should look to do at the deadline. And also a little conversation about the All-Star game voting. But Alex, again, I wouldn't say the best week for Shohei. Better than a lot of players in the Dodgers. Dodgers are going through it a little bit right now, but not the best week offensively.
No,
sure.
I mean, it's again, like, yeah, it's a little bit of a slump for both the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani, but they had such a strong start to the season and have such a good core that they're still doing just fine. They're still they're 5-5 in their last 10 games, and they're still very strongly in first in the NL West. Like, they're going to be just fine. Ohtani's going to be just fine. But yeah, they're playing pretty average baseball right now, all around.
Yeah, I have no worries about Shohei on the week. So from May 30th to June 5th, he hit 222, did have that homer, 2 RBIs, a 722 OPS. But it looked like he started to figure it out on, I believe it was Wednesday when Skeens, Wednesday.
Second matchup with Skeens.
Yeah, Skeens punched him out in the first at bat. He homered in the next one and then got really hit a ball hard in the following at bat. So it looks like he's starting to come out of a little like couple week long skid. Mm-hmm. Again, not worried about him or the Dodgers, but yeah. Definitely not his best week, but again, on this season, he's hitting 322, 15 homers, 40 RBIs, 14 stolen bases, and an OPS just under 1,000 now. So, yeah, still really, really, really good.
Yeah, again, baseball. You're going to have so many ebbs and flows, ups and downs. It's a roller coaster of the season. The Dodgers were one of the strongest offensive teams right out of the gates, and now they're ranked 29th in runs over the last week.
Yeah.
They're going to turn it around, but they've also faced a lot of injuries and adversity. One of their big bats, obviously Max Muncy, hopefully he's back in a few weeks with his oblique strain. But LA's going to need some help.
Yeah.
Dodgers are going to need some help. Is there anyone that the Dodgers should be targeting before the trade deadline?
Well, when I look at the Dodgers, if I'm looking at their holes, like where they have issues in their roster, I would say lineup depth.
Yeah.
For sure. And then bullpen, back into the bullpen, probably needs some arms. Rotation can be good. Bueller's been good since he's come back. Yamamoto's been good. James Paxton, serviceable this year. So
Bobby Miller on the horizon. He just he's making his third rehab start this weekend, so he should be back.
Bobby
Miller,
would be big. Obviously Tyler Glass now, who's been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year. But yeah, I just think Bobby Miller is vital to the team's playoff success. They need him back, and I think the rotation can be in good shape. If you're going to throw out there Tyler Glass now, Bobby Miller, Walker Buehler, and Yamamoto, that's good. Bullpen depth, back into the bullpen arms. I don't foresee a world. By the way, Kenley Jansen's going to be made available by the Red Sox, at least from what they've said and what I've heard.
Back.
I don't see it.
No,
I don't see it. It just felt like a break, a clean split.
It wasn't.
And I don't
it wasn't like a happy.
back.
I remember hearing, because he lived kind of right by me in the South Bay, his house would get like teepeed and egged when he wasn't like pitching well. So I don't know. It probably leaves like a little bit of like a sour taste in your mouth.
I mean, he was on the show.
Community.
He was on the show a couple weeks ago, and we did talk about the Dodgers, and he had obviously nothing but great things to say. But like the highlight of his career has been pitching out here. He's the all-time saves leader for the Dodgers. I just don't know if I see that happening. But back into the bullpen help. I need to see lineup depth. That would be my main answer. And is it a guy like Jazz Chisholm, who the Marlins could make available, who could bring a lot of swag and vibes to the lineup and lengthen the lineup for sure? Look, Jazz hasn't been an elite player in the game of baseball, but he's good. He can play good outfield defense. I don't know if they would entertain a world in which they move him back to second base, but certainly could help their infield depth, could definitely help lengthen that lineup. I could see a guy like that.
And there's also when you're surrounded by great players, your game elevates as well. Yeah. So if he's in a lineup with all these MVPs, like that's only going to force you to want to be better and show up and just be the best that you can be.
Yeah. I could also see a good friend of mine, Nicky Lopez. We saw the Braves do it last year, getting him from the Royals, and they brought him in as kind of like a super utility role.
Yeah.
Going to play great defense wherever you put him, can hit for a high average, but can run the bases well. So maybe a piece like that you could plug into the 9 hole. He can hit for a high average. He can get on base and head ahead of. When I look at the Dodgers lineup, if they could put a guy like a Nicky Lopez, like a guy that is a high on base, maybe not the best hitter in the world or a high OPS guy, but a high on base percentage, high batting average, can get on base ahead of Mookie, Shohei, and Freddie. That would be a perfect fit. So, yeah, I think lineup depth is what they absolutely need to target.
We're about a month away from the All-Star game.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's here. It's happening. The voting just started, and we have a nice little battle going down with the National League designated hitter. I know where you're going. You've already tweeted about it. Why should Shohei Ohtani start over Ozuna?
Yeah, I think that's the conversation for DH in the National League is Shohei Ohtani or Marcell Ozuna. And certainly when I posted my ballot, spoiler alert to anybody that didn't see it, but I voted for Shohei. So just to
Well, it's on
clarify.
behind you. It's there.
Oh, there's my ballot there.
Yeah.
Cool. Anyway, keep that up because I have a point to make about that. But anyway, I think Shohei over Ozuna is the answer here. One, it's just a lot of loud Braves fans saying we haven't had a lot go right this year. Ozuna's been great. He should be the DH. The statistics are pretty close, right? Ozuna does lead Ohtani in homers and RBIs, but really that's about it. WAR, Shohei leads by a good bit, 3.2 to 2.1. Shohei leads in stolen bases, batting average, on-base percentage, OPS, OPS plus. Also, he's the biggest superstar in the game of baseball and one of the biggest superstars in the entire world. The obvious answer is Shohei Ohtani. And we don't need to dive into the past of Marcell Ozuna, but kind of the complete opposite. Not exactly the best guy in the world with the best past. Shohei's a guy that is the face of this game right now, a superstar, one of the greatest talents of all time, if not the greatest talent in the history of baseball. And absolutely will be, needs to be, and should be the starting DH for the National League. If you want to just put numbers side by side, he's having a better year regardless of that anyway. So, but the game of baseball needs the game's best representing them at the All-Star game. Shohei is the biggest star the game has to offer. He's the obvious answer for me at designated hitter.
Well, I mean, and if it's fan voting, he's going to blow it out of the water.
Yeah.
He has an entire country voting for him.
So this is my ballot. I posted this
You
on
look really,
Thursday.
really excited about
I'm
it.
not.
Why?
Here's what I have to say.
Okay. Did you mess
I posted
up?
this. No, I feel good about my ballot.
Okay.
But so at second base for the National League, I put Ketel Marte having a really good year. One of the first people to like the post was Luis Ariz. And I was like, no, but you know what I thought? I should have voted for him. I like him a lot. He's a friend. He's a friend of the pod.
Great.
He's having a good year. He's continuing to play better and better.
He just swayed you. He's on a campaign trail. He's just going to go like everybody's ballot that posts someone other than him. It's like, shoot, he saw that. Now I got to bring him back in.
We need to put this out on socials. Luis Ariz, I am sorry, my friend. You get my vote for second base for the National League of the All-Star game. I saw you liked the tweet. I apologize for not voting for you, but I'm not just voting for you because I saw that. I immediately thought this is a unique talent in the game of baseball. He has the best hit tool in the game of baseball, and I think a talent like that should be showcased. He's won back-to-back batting titles. So, yeah, I think he's going to get my vote going forward.
Well, you can vote every single day up to 10 times, right? It's a lot.
Vote more. I think you can vote every day.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, yeah, you'll just add him to the mix.
But tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's
tomorrow.
in there.
You got my vote tomorrow.
About the back to the Paul Skeens thing real quick.
Yeah.
So Skeens punched him out on 3 straight pitches to start that at bat. And then you know what's cool, and obviously the home run happened in that second at bat, and there's a really cool picture of him basically like smiling as the ball goes over the wall. And post game he was like, yeah, it's just big boy against big boy out there. Well, it's cool. Skeens is from out here and was at Shohei's debut at Angel Stadium. Like growing, I think it said he was like 15 years old or something like that. And there's the picture. It's just, that's iconic. I mean, I know you don't want to give up a homer, but pretty cool moment. He struck him out the first one.
Yeah.
Shohei got him the second one.
That's
and it
so
led
cool.
to this cool moment. And a guy that Skeens was idolizing. How could you not? Growing up out in the area and at his debut. So just a cool moment. So, yeah, we're wrapping up Ohtani news on a cool moment. That does it, my friends, for this week in Shohei Ohtani news. Whew, good episode. Alex, I've mentioned we have some updates
Yep.
for some FlippinBats updates. So first of which being Summer of Soccer is taking over this Fox Sports digital set here. So FlippinBats for the foreseeable future will have a bit of a different schedule. So just please make sure you're subscribed, following wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple or Spotify. Make sure you're followed on all social medias because we do have some good conversations that are already banked and ready to come out. Saturday with Smoltz will be out. Saturday, we have a good conversation with Cal Ripken Jr. coming out here soon. But for the foreseeable future, the schedule will look just a little bit different. So subscribe, stay on top of those things, and I will absolutely keep you posted with all of that. But Alex also has another announcement and another little update.
Yeah, with the schedule looking different and obviously the show moving from the studio, that is a wrap for me on FlippinBats. And I just want to give a big thank you to the entire crew, community, fan base. This was an incredible couple of years that we had on this show. So much fun.
Yeah.
Like, incredible. Like, we were going through some of these photos. I was like, dude, I got to cover my first World Series. I worked in baseball for 10 years, but I got to cover my first World Series on this show. And it was so cool. But I'm still around, you guys. You can still hang out with me every Saturday on Fox Sports Radio, 1 to 3 p.m., and some more exciting things coming up. But for us, this is a celebration of some really rad shows and things that we got to do.
I am so appreciative of you, Alex. I appreciate, about 2 years?
Yeah.
This has been so great having you a part of the show for as long as we got to, doing some of the cool things like we mentioned earlier, a World Baseball Classic, all the World Series, some playoff runs.
All-Star games.
There's All-Star games. There's pictures in the wall of all of those memories. And you have made this show better and helped grow it into what it has. And I'm just really, really appreciative.
You were a great partner.
You were
a great partner.
Well,
so yeah.
Yes, quite the updates here for FlippinBats. If you're watching, you can see a lot of our photos in the background. But stay tuned. Still a lot to come with FlippinBats. I will keep you all posted on that scheduling going forward. Again, Smoltz on Saturday, Cal Ripken Jr. coming up, more episodes coming up, which I will keep you posted about. But that does it for this episode, my friends. Thank you all. Alex, thank you. Thank you for everything, for all the good times here on FlippinBats. It's been a hell of a ride and quite the journey. So you're the absolute best.
Right back at you, buddy.
Remember, guys, until next time, you too, Alex, find your bat and flip it. Peace.